All right, just so everybody knows what we're about to do here, if you don't know what you're doing, please do not do this. This can be very dangerous. In fact, it can be lethal, just due to severe high voltage. Okay, so what we got here, we got the Dentron Clipperton L. These tubes are very soft. I can't even get it to do more about, I don't know, 4.5, 500 watts. Should be doing legal limit if I push it hard. So, number one, we're unplugged, okay? That's the number one thing about this. Number two, we got some tools here. We got our voltmeter. Obviously, we're going to need that. We're going to need a test for voltage. We need to make sure there's absolutely 0 volts on anything in there before we reach our hand in there. And number two, we got this fancy guy, otherwise known as a chicken stick. So what we're going to do, we're going to take this end here. We're going to put it straight to ground. And then we take this end here. As you can see, it's a piece of wood. And there's some, I think, 4 ohm resistor inside of here that helps bleed voltage. And we're going to touch this to anything that has voltage on it, and it will bleed off the voltage. So make sure everything's good before we even take the top off. Okay, the top has been removed. See that? Danger, high voltage. Be very careful. Those capacitors down there hold a lot of juice, something like 2600 volts. Should be bled off by now. I've had it unplugged about an hour, then shut off. There's the tubes we're going to be replacing in this thing. They're 4 572B tubes is what they are. So let me get my chicken stick hooked up here. Hang on a minute. Okay, we got the chicken stick hooked up to the chassis back there. That's ground. I'm a little paranoid about this stuff, but as you can see, clearly there's no more voltage left on anything there that I can see at all. So if there was anything, there's not anymore. So basically what I did is I went in there and I touched anything that could have any voltage on it whatsoever at the end of that chicken stick. Sorry my lighting in here is not that great, but I touched everything back there on all those tubes. I touched everything that power supply is hooked to. Touched stuff the best I could at the bottom of the capacitors there. I touched everything with that chicken stick to make sure that 100% that there's absolutely 0 voltage in here. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to get the voltmeter out just to double check. Okay, so as you can see, there's 0 volts. We got our ground right there on the chassis. There's still 0 volts anywhere on this thing. No voltage whatsoever. Always, always, always double check this. I cannot stress that enough. 0 voltage, and yes, it is AC volts running through this thing. There's absolutely nothing. Alright, and there's tube number 1. Look at that. Dentron factory tubes. Good old 572Bs. Look at that big old burn-in spot on it. I'd say that thing's seen better days. There's tube number 1. 3 more to go. Well, that's interesting. I never knew this about this amplifier. I've had it for quite a few years now. These are different tubes in the bottom. Interesting. Okay, all 4 tubes are now removed, and we're going to start putting the new ones back in. And I'm going to be putting my rubber gloves on to do it, my nitro gloves, because I don't want fingerprints on them. Alright, see how pretty these new tubes are? They're also made in China, but they're made by Penta Labs. They're pretty good quality. Anyway, there's the 4th one. We got 3 in there now. Gonna get ourselves 1 more in and we'll get her fired up. And there we go. 4 brand new tubes. 4 brand new 572Bs loaded up in the Dentron Clipperton L. I'll get the lid on, we'll plug her in and start it up, see what happens here. And there we go. Got 4 brand new tubes fired up in the Dentron. We'll let them warm up there. Wow, they're way brighter than the old ones were. Got good voltage. Yep, right about 2600 where she needs to be. Then we'll let them break in and fire up, and away we go. And that's how you do her safely and effectively. 7-3 everybody. Whiskey 7 Tango Victor Sierra, Central Montana.